Hello, my fellow ortho enthusiasts, and welcome to the Seaview OrthoPod Cast, where we cover everything orthopedics to get you back to quality living. I am your host, Layla Jabbar, and you are joining us for the Season 2 premiere. Roses are red, violets are blue, and now we have a sweet episode for you. In the spirit of Valentine's Day, consider this episode a Valentine from Seaview to our listeners. Have you ever been curious as to what it would be like to be married to someone in the same career field as you? Some of our listeners might know what this is like. However, this episode has so much heart, it's for everyone. On this episode, we are joined by our very own Dr. Monika Debkowska, Seaview's first ever, and yes, I'm going to put the plug in, female orthopedic surgeon. She is fellowship trained in hand, upper extremity, and microvascular surgery. Yes, girl power. And our very special guest today is Dr. Debkowska's husband, Dr. Soobin Kang, a radiologist with a subspecialty of musculoskeletal radiology at University Radiology. Now, let's set the mood. Who doesn't love a good meet cute? So I'll address the both of you. When did you meet?
We met in medical school. We had a similar friend group. And then we were in the same anatomy lab. So we basically fell in love with each other while dissecting a cadaver.
That is a very interesting way to fall in love. Any stories of were you guys ever friends before? Did it kind of was it a slow progression? Was it a quick progression?
We had a similar friend group, but we weren't very close friends in that group until we started being in the same cadaver lab and basically studying with each other all the time.
So I'm going to ask the question that everyone's dying to know. Who made the first move?
Oh, that's a tricky question. I actually, if I remember back, I believe Dr. Debkowska probably made the first move.
Why does that not surprise me?
But I may not have realized it at the time when she made it. So
that's adorable, though. Okay, so when you guys met, you already knew that you were both heading towards your career paths in the medical field. Did you know exactly what you were going to land on?
I didn't know exactly, but I had a very good idea that I was going to be in orthopedic surgery.
What about you?
I mean, I think from day one, I think when we talked, I knew that she wanted to be orthopedic surgery. Me, on the other hand, I pretty much came into to medical school not knowing what I wanted to do. It was pretty broad: surgery, internal medicine, pretty much everything I was looking into. And then my field that I picked eventually, radiology, I didn't decide until probably the end of my third year. Oh, wow. So it took a while.
That's awesome.
But, I found the right one.
What led you to making that decision? I'm just curious.
A lot of different factors, but mainly, I like the problem-solving aspect of radiology. You're looking at a bunch of images that, when you're not used to looking at it, doesn't really make sense. But then when you reach the answer, it's really satisfying and rewarding. So
awesome.
Yeah.
So you guys met, in the thick of the education. Did it help you being in a relationship, through the education process?
Yeah, I think so, because we could study with each other, quiz each other, and really help us get through our classes together. He was stronger at certain things than I was, not many, but
man, that dig.
She was definitely stronger in a lot of things compared to I was.
But yeah, it was very helpful to study with each other.
All right. I'm trying not to get too mushy here, but when did you know that this was the person that you wanted to marry?
Probably, for me at least, probably maybe a year in. I can't really tell the exact, the exact moment. But when we first started dating, she has a really strong personality. She knows what she wants when she wants it. And
that's not surprising to me at all.
Right. And definitely a surgeon type personality.
Right.
And it really, it came through. But yeah, for me to answer exactly when that was, it's hard. But, we spent a lot of time studying together. We're going through the same process, the same stresses, same, hardships, you could put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
So we really understood what each other was going through, and that support system, having someone really close by, going through the same, all night studying sessions and being tired after an exam, but really exhilarated because you're finally done. You only have 2 more weeks until the next one, but you're done for that one. So, having someone that could really, hold your hand and go through everything together was really helpful. So
it's amazing. Were you kind of on the same page with it
was pretty quickly after we started dating, because he was a very good guy, very loyal. I could trust him, so I knew that long term he'd be a great person to stay with. And it was definitely helpful with the support system.
Awesome. All right, so now we're going to get into the meat. Dr. Debkowska, what do you believe are your husband's most redeeming qualities? I know I'm putting you on the spot. I'll give you a second, but
that's a good question. We after every fight, we always come back stronger, I think. So that's great. He's also a very great dad to our kids, which I think that is amazing. And he's a very hard worker. And all those things make me very happy.
And I will reverse the question.
Yeah. I mean, many different qualities I like about Dr. Debkowska, but some of the main things, some of the highlights. Some of the highlights. So she is extremely family oriented, family focused. She loves her family. She always wanted a big family. That's something we're working on still, I guess, because right now we have 2 kids. But she always tries to bring the family together, not just us 2 and the kids, but also our parents, my parents, her brother, my brother. All the extended family. They're always welcome to kind of join us for any holiday occasion, any special occasion, birthdays. So, my family, we're close, but we weren't the ones that really had a big family or celebrated things like a lot. But with Dr. Debkowska, or Monika.
You can call her Monika.
I'll call her Monika now.
Absolutely.
I was just trying to,
No, actually, in the text before the show, she texted me and she said doctor. I was like, is she referring to her husband as doctor? I said, oh boy. I'm going to have to break down some walls here. Hold on.
Yeah. But yeah, that aspect really is something different from what I'm used to. So that's definitely a huge positive. Another thing, she mentioned it about me, but I can also say the same thing about her. She's extremely loyal. I can always trust her to make the right decision for not only herself, myself, but for the whole family. And she always puts everyone else first rather than herself. So
amazing qualities as a surgeon and a partner. I mean, that pretty much goals of what anybody would want in their life partner. So beautiful. I'll open this to the both of you. What would you say are the most rewarding aspects of marrying someone or being with someone in the same field as you?
I think definitely them understanding what my job is like, especially that he had the similar rotations throughout medical school, because when I'm operating, it's very difficult to get into contact with me or get any kind of answer from me. As I can't scrub out and take phone calls. So he understands that if I'm in surgery that he'll have to wait for me to respond to him, which is very helpful because I know a lot of people who are married to a surgeon and they're not in the medical field have difficulty understanding that.
Everybody outside. My fiance is a teacher, but I can tell you right now, if he doesn't answer within an hour, I'm like, I know you're teaching the future America, but I need a response here. So
yeah. And then if I want to talk about my work, when we get home, he's not grossed out by anything. He's interested, so I can go into full detail and just have him listen to how my day
Yeah, we've
was.
both seen everything, heard everything, smelled everything. Nothing's a surprise.
Yeah. So do you discuss work a lot at home?
I mean, I wouldn't say a lot, but when things do come up, and especially because our fields kind of overlap quite a lot, we can talk about things in pretty high detail. And, we both understand, we don't always want to bring work home, but we also enjoy what we do. So talking about those things really doesn't bother either of us. So
yeah, I
it's
definitely
another positive.
agree.
Yeah.
Sounds like you're both extremely passionate about work, which is, it's nice to be able to come home and talk to somebody. I can't always relate to the teacher that I'm engaged to, and he cannot relate to the marketing side. But so work-life balance, we talk about it, with our careers, but do you find a lot of work-life balance? Do you have to set yourself up for that? Does it come naturally?
Ever since, even before medical school, like in college, getting ready for medical school, it took a lot out of me to be able to get into medical school. Long hours studying, doing homework, etc. So I think, and that's probably the same thing goes for Monika. So we're both used to like working hard and also kind of setting goals for ourselves so that we can reach those within like reasonable effort and time. Now, once medical school and then residency and finally, real careers as doctors has started, I think, all that what we went through throughout our education has kind of stayed with us, and I think it's we always find time. We'll try to find time for each other, for our family, to get things done. And I think we're both very good at using like the small amounts of time that we have here and there throughout the day to get other things done. We're always trying to multitask and things like that. Of course, she's a lot better than I am in multitasking.
That's women. I'm just going to say that's women in general.
Right. But, I think that's something we both can agree on, that we try our best to get things done in the short amount of time that we have.
I give you a lot of credit because, demanding careers, kids, and then time management. My coworker and I talk about time management, and we have none of those things yet. So we struggle with it as, people who are not even with children yet. So a lot of credit where credit's due. All right. So we've talked about the positives. What are the most challenging aspects? Let's get into it. What are the most challenging aspects of you both being in the medical field?
I think both of us have pretty strong personalities, so we can bump heads pretty easily. And, sometimes we want things our ways, and then we have to find a way to meet in the middle. So I think that's one difficult aspect. We're also very, very busy, both of us, and we have very little time for each other, basically, because we're so busy with our job and then being parents. That's difficult to find time for each other. So we're always working on that as well.
Yeah, another difficult thing is because of our, we have, let's say unorthodox schedules. So we can have weekends where, one of us is working the entire weekend. For example, this past weekend I was working the whole weekend. Wow. And if that happens, we know that the other person has to schedule that weekend to be off. Now, the problem with that is a lot of times we don't have the same weekends off. So we just kind of don't have that time to spend together. And, that's very difficult because we, as much as we want to spend time together and do things, it could be hard to find days when we have the exact same days off.
Especially with like the children, because one of you is with the children, and then I'm sure you miss not only your spouse, but like, being home with the kids while your spouse is maybe doing something fun. I would have big fear of missing out. I think the kids call it FOMO. But
there's a lot of FOMO. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. If someone had a tough day at work, because we know that can happen in any job, what is the best way to deal at home?
If I have a tough day at work, Soobin lets me go upstairs to my bedroom and let me relax instead of having to also worry about, feeding the kids dinner, putting them to sleep. So instead, he just lets me have the time to myself and relax.
What about for you, if it's a tough day?
I mean, Monika definitely has way more tough days, I would say, than I do. Because, my schedule, it can be variable, but my typical work day is pretty standard. So I know what to expect. So, there are very few days where I come home and I'm just like, oh my God, that was the worst day. That's pretty rare for me. That being said, I'm still very busy, even during a regular, typical day. So when I do get home, my brain is kind of fried.
I imagine.
So in those days, I try to give Monika more free time in the evenings, just because she brings home more work than I do. Because when I'm done with work, I kind of don't have to bring too much, except for things like, creating lectures for residents and things like that. But that's, it's not every day that I have that. For Monika, she has a lot of work to do after she gets home, because she still has to fill out paperwork and do notes and things like that, which that's not something typically that I would do. So I do try to give her a little bit more free time in the evenings if possible. And I also think me in general, I'm a less stressed out person, like personality wise.
Listen, I don't doubt it for a second.
And that's just the surgeon type personality. Is that they
working for the
they
31
always
doctors, I can attest to that, maybe a little bit.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I just deal with stress a little bit differently, and
Also, like, we're both really tired from taking care of our kids, especially at night, because our kids still don't sleep fully throughout the night. So if we have a bad night, the next day or the next night, we'll try to help each other out and take more turns taking the care of the kids at night.
How old are your kids?
Our son.
Your
My
son.
Our son just turned 3 on February 5th.
Oh, baby.
And then our daughter's 1.5.
Oh, very tiny children.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It does sound, like you guys have worked on a partnership, and that's kind of the dream for everybody. It's you don't want to be with somebody who's exactly like you. You kind of need that balance of personalities, how you deal with stresses. But it sounds like you have built a really beautiful life that way. Does being on call bring any challenges? Because most positions, let's put it, like my marketing job, I wouldn't say I'm on call. Physicians are on call. So does that bring challenges as it relates to family life?
Yeah, that definitely brings us challenges, because sometimes I'll have one call weekend and my husband will have 2 call weekends in the same month. So then basically we're left with one weekend to ourselves to plan something for the whole family, versus, the weekends we're on call, we have to do things separately. So that's definitely, I think, stressful for us and, our family life.
Absolutely. I imagine that, anytime that the unexpected with small children is tough. Do you think being in different specialties, similar, but you're doing different things, does it make you stronger or better professionally? Like, do you bounce things off of each other? Does it make you a better, surgeon? Does it make you a better radiologist?
I definitely agree, because we're in different specialties, but they overlap significantly. So we can bounce things off each other all the time. So we're learning from each other all the time.
Yeah. I mean, if I have questions about a certain study, and it could, be a totally unrelated patient or like body part, my wife, she specializes in hand and, upper extremity. But if I have certain questions regarding other body parts, then I can always ask her, because she's had, full residency, had experience a lot more than I have in terms of, for example, if I want to ask what type of surgery this patient may have had, and I'm like very confused about what it looks like on imaging, I can ask her, what did this patient have done? Because sometimes, the patient doesn't show up with all the full history, and I just have to, better than guessing myself, it's good to have someone who had specialized in and seen a lot more things than I have in the real life, rather than just through images. So
we just did a pretty interesting episode about the relationship between our practice and radiology practices. And, it's interesting to hear, it was with Dr. Vazen, and to hear Dr. Vazen even say, like, there are things that I will never see that a radiologist will see. And there are things that a radiologist will never see that I see. And that there's such a balance and working relationship. So to see a couple who's married who have that relationship, it's amazing. I would think it would make you a much stronger person professionally, like a little mini superpower, if you will. So in regards to, like, you guys say that you set time, for your family. Do you do time for just you two, like date nights? Do you have to, like, schedule that in, or what does that look like?
Yeah, we basically have to schedule it in. And we try really hard, but it's usually like once a month we'll hang out with each other alone.
Hang out. I can't. She legit said hang out. What does hanging out look like in the married life here?
We'll go out to dinner or maybe watch some like sports together. I like tennis a lot. We went to a football game or a concert.
That's nice.
We tried throwing
Axe throwing.
Oh. That was very fun.
That's a fun date night.
Yeah.
No fingers lost.
I was
So
gonna say I'm a little hand surgeon going axe throwing, but okay.
yeah.
So yeah, we definitely try, but it's definitely hard. And I always put our kids first. As a mom, it's just tough not to. So I always try to spend as much time with them as possible.
Understandable.
That's another hard thing is that, I mean, as much as we love the kids and they always come first, we don't realize how much time and effort we spend with them. And, and by the time everything's, said and done, all the kids are sleeping finally, it could be pretty late and we have other things to do. So it's definitely a tough balance. But I think we're getting the hang of it much more now that both of the kids aren't like newborns anymore. Right. So they're sticking to better routines. I think. Yeah, it definitely helps.
Sleep helps, I'm sure.
And sometimes our parents come over and help us out too, and which is a huge help as well. So
having a support system, regardless of your profession, I think having a support system when you have young kids is immensely important.
Yeah.
What is your favorite thing to do as a couple when you're not working? Is it just lounging at home with the kids? What does the perfect night look like?
I mean, for me, the kids would be asleep.
Let's start there.
She will have a tub of her Ben & Jerry's ice cream.
Yes. Wait. What's your flavor? What's the flavor of Dr. Debkowska?
I like milk and cookies.
I'm a Cherry Garcia girl myself. But.
Yeah. And, I might have like my bubble tea.
Oh, I love bubble tea too, man.
Well, we might
speak in my language.
And we'll pick a movie or something, or one of her reality TV shows. There's many reality TV shows.
That she would have even a moment of time for any reality TV.
Yes.
But, what's her favorite?
I'll let her answer that.
She's blushing for the people who can't see.
It has to come from her mouth.
I don't know. I like a lot of them.
You know which one it is.
I don't know. I like a lot of them. But
okay.
I've watched. I've been a hardcore fan of Jersey Shore.
Oh yeah. I mean, my mom's still watching that too. I fell off once a couple of them left the show, and I just can't get into it anymore. They all started having kids. I'm like, where's the chaos?
Yeah.
Last question. It's a tough one, and I'll let you both answer. If you could give one piece of advice to a newly married couple, what would that be? And I'm going to give you a second to think on it. Maybe I'm asking for myself. If you were giving advice to me or any newly, married couple, what would that one thing that you wish you knew before getting married that would help immensely?
Okay, so if you're a newly married couple, I would definitely say just take some time together to get to know each other more, spend a lot of time with each other, travel, do fun things before you have kids. Once you have kids, that pretty much goes out the window. And then once you do have kids, just try to find that time for each other, whether you have to like literally pencil it into your schedule, but that's really important.
For me, for a newlywed, that's a tough question, but I would say, find the best method that works for you guys to communicate effectively. I mean, that sounds kind of cliche, but
it's so true.
It's very true, though. Like, communication is, I think, the most important thing, and it's still something we're working on. Like Monika and we're still working on it, and it's not perfect every day, but it's something that I strive to make myself better at doing, even to this day.
I think from what it sounds like from the both of you, it's not a one and done thing. It's a constant work. A relationship is work. It's not always rainbows and butterflies, but it can be truly beautiful if you put the time and energy into it. And, it seems like, you guys really have that. And you do have to schedule time together, and you do have to put a priority on that part as much as your career and your children. And it sounds like you guys have got what all we all are dreaming for here. So that is all the time we have for today. Thank you to our guest for this episode, Dr. Debkowska, hand, upper extremity, and microvascular surgeon at Seaview OrthoPedics. You can schedule an appointment online anytime with Dr. Debkowska at SeaviewOrtho.com. Thank you, Dr. Soobin Kang of University Radiology. We love our friends over at University Radiology. To learn more about their facility services or to schedule an appointment, please visit universityradiology.com. As always, a huge thank you to our listeners. If you enjoyed this Valentine's Day episode, please subscribe to the Seaview OrthoPod Cast and share with other ortho enthusiasts. Season 2 has some really great episodes in store, so be sure to stay connected. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at Seaview Ortho and like us on Facebook for updates on upcoming episodes. Get up, get moving, and get back to quality living with Seaview Orthopedics.